I might close this window.
Yeah, it was nice for a few hours and,
Did you get outside and walk?
yeah, and now it's getting a little bit back
Right,
down to,
Right, it's coming. Spring.
it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for recycling those.
Nice job putting that stuff together.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You know what? I was
We were
outside.
just talking about Miriam. They must not want this stuff 2,000 feet away from
South
anything.
Road?
Yeah, that's,
They had to go 263.
hello,
Howdy.
how you doing?
Good. I just bought new hearing aids, George. I bought my first car for a tenth of what I paid for the hearing aids.
oh my God.
And it was brand new Ford. The car, that was. Yeah. Ordered. Country Squire. My God.
Hey, little inflation.
But it was at a divorce court, so I figured my lawyer told me the divorce would be a lot more expensive.
You're getting some good advice.
After 50 years, I don't know.
Can you control them with your cell phone?
Yes. I got the Miracle Ear,
Yeah.
top of, the top of the line. The midline was like $7,000. This was $7,800. And then they gave me $1,000 off.
Maybe you should have traded in your country squire.
George, I paid $6,800 for a Country Squire 1973, leather, 9 seats, stereo, everything.
What was that, 1942?
Yeah, kiss my grits. We don't have the speaker on yet, do we? Oh, thank you. That'll go into the record, huh?
Oh, my God. It was about 32 this morning, what a difference. What the hell did you whack into?
Well, went somewhere I probably shouldn't have.
Uh-oh, you got caught.
Oh. So Charlene, what are you doing with yourself these days? Not that it's any of my business, by asking.
Are we on? Are we on the air?
Yeah, we're being
Nice,
trapped.
nice try though, Craig.
Oh, my
Jeez.
God.
My goodness, I asked a nice, non-committal question.
But, you
I know, I mean, I've
But
been
is
there.
everybody in town gonna hear about it? Right, if we're on the air?
We are
No,
live,
but if
so-
we're on,
Oh,
Yes. Town wants to know what you're doing with yourself.
I never know with Pam, you see the pictures when
Yeah,
you walk
no,
in.
right.
whether-
Because Kurt Moffett, the reporter, asked, and I wanted to make sure I think he wants to cover the meeting, so
Oh.
we are live, I wanted to make sure we had no issues.
Oh, yeah, understood, but beforehand. So Craig, I'm really, Lee and
I thought maybe you might have gone back into private practice. I don't know.
I do a little bit on the side, but really what been taking most of our time the last 2 years, besides COVID, has been family stuff. His mother,
Does she live here in town?
No, not anymore. We had to move her into a facility. And, you know, things like that, I mean, it just takes so, it
Doesn't get easier.
doesn't get easy.
Does Lee golf?
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
Do you? No. Do you like to walk with him at the course?
No,
No.
no, he goes with his buddies.
Any of the lake people respond?
I'm not gonna interfere with that.
They're so pretty.
Yeah, yeah,
The first.
but we walk to the lake every day.
I got up to his house early enough
So
to,
that's
Two and a half miles up past.
The one on the lake, what's his name, Joe?
there's nice equipment,
back and forth.
nice equipment listed
And that's
there.
built.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
well, that's why it's
healthy.
good.
Oh, it's really, right.
At least we got good listening anyways, generally.
So we're ready for hikes when we go.
Did you ever
Yeah.
get the help you were seeking on
Yeah,
the
we've been traveling.
tanker?
We've been
That's
doing some traveling.
I've been promised it. It's not in there.
John tried to retire too, you know,
When I see the check, I'll believe it.
get
Yeah.
knee
I was gonna say,
replacement.
I've got, I'm
Well, unless
60
you
years,
wanna
I've
write-
had many a
Unless you wanna
promise.
write a check, I mean, that's all right too.
Hip, and she's,
It's only 100,000, so it's fine.
I think she's.
Distinctive,
she's better.
still
but,
trying,
you know,
finally
that-
get back
that
this
takes a lot out of you.
at the end of last week,
Yeah.
because
The recovery
his
time.
equipment is so
You know, it's
flat
like to
out,
break
so
a
he said,
bone, let
Yeah.
alone if they're.
so he's looking at it, he's gonna bring his crane up
And,
Is he?
But the good thing is
and
she
set up
stopped
next
smoking.
door and then.
So they're gonna crane it all down?
She was a heavy smoker.
Yeah,
Is that gonna be a cheaper price or more?
After 50 years.
He hasn't broke the news to
Stopped
me.
because-
Yeah, 'cause usually a crane I think is more, 'cause that's
Well,
slower.
he quoted me, so I think he's gonna try to
Yeah.
do it for
While
what he
now,
told me
that's-
about.
that's-
Well, they should.
John will never retire. He can't.
No, we'll take you during the, public comment, because there's nothing on the agenda for you. All right, so hopefully, he can.
Boys are all leaving us, huh?
I got nervous for you the other day when it was windy.
Well, thanks.
I was
What
like,
do you
oh,
think it feels
boy,
like to
George.
us?
That's a shock,
Pardon?
there's a shock down there.
I heard, what, we go every Friday,
An extra.
and usually one or the other is there.
Starts talking.
No, well, not all the time, because we go at lunch, we don't, my wife will drive me. So we're out of there by 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock,
We'll leave one for these guys
So-
or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
and they told, Nate told, was he there the first one? I don't know, we heard about it.
Yeah, I'm moving it down.
I heard.
Oh, okay.
Not really good, you know, I'm happy, but I'm not.
I'll wait to see George. It was between me and George.
Is anybody coming in for the, this,
Yeah, yep,
who's coming in?
Josh,
Josh is.
we're all here early, we got like
Yeah,
6
no,
minutes.
I know,
You're
we're way
right.
ahead of.
Have you heard from John or Felix?
Felix, he's still, his family's in the Ukraine, so he's still, he had indicated he probably would not be here tonight, so I take that for, he's not. And I haven't heard anything.
What's going on Main Street?
Somebody burned food up there.
Bird food?
Yeah.
It's a normal call there.
Fire alarm went off, and, you know,
The oven's on fire.
yeah.
It was,
Used to be the
it was
clock
near
shop
that one
factory.
building that the town, that Geiger didn't tear down, so I
Yeah.
was wondering, maybe that was a.
No, you can't get that lucky.
Brother.
I remember when I was on the department, and
That's called urban renewal, so.
Yeah, right.
the new clock shop factory had such sensitive fire alarm system, and all the people in there would, you know, cook
Yeah,
their
that's
supper, and it would,
Everything's going off, right?
10, 15 times a month, same building.
Yeah.
80 Chestnut Street was that way till they finally changed all the alarms. They had to
Yeah.
change all the heads. It was terrible. It was like every other day.
After a while, you're like, do I really wanna get out of bed to go to this? I know what it is.
Well, yeah, but you know, you can't honor it as a false alarm and then turn around, there's a.
I know, what if there
Then
is
it isn't.
something, you never know.
Then you get there and it isn't. That's the problem. So,
Bridgeport, they really stomped on you for that.
yep, yep, start finding them and,
What an
Yeah, you
expensive
gotta-
proposition, and if it,
so
Big
you start,
time.
start
I mean,
finding.
I hire
Yeah.
a
Okey-dokey, I get it.
guy, armed guy, that
Yeah.
he gets the call first, right from the
Yep.
alarm company, he goes in, and if he needs help, then he calls the cops.
Yeah.
Or the fire department, whatever it is.
What the hell, you're not next door.
It was snowing and hailing in Norfolk yesterday.
Yesterday
Big
it was.
time.
I went through there yesterday afternoon, about 3:30.
We were getting
Snowing
like
good.
snow
It starts
pellets
sticking,
down
I'm in
here.
trouble.
Between,
Put the plows away, right?
Well, it was opening day of fishing season, right? That's usually, I've seen it snow
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
before.
I agree, I agree.
I hope that's the end of it.
Yeah, it could be in early May, you never know.
Well, we've had snow on the, apple blossoms,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, we did.
1978, we got 30 inches of snow up on Winchester.
Hey, John.
Yep.
You couldn't move.
hello,
Plow trucks
Wet,
couldn't touch
heavy,
it.
that's
Yeah, as hard
terrible.
as a
They
rock.
came up there with a double engine Trojan.
My,
There
yeah,
wasn't
me
one,
too.
whatever you guys call those posts that go around the various drains and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yep,
There wasn't one of those
took them all down.
on Black Hill
Uh,
left when that was done.
You did a
Every
nice
one
job
was
with the,
down.
Did you get all that
And the
stuff on
road
the,
had to be, the
Canada
banks,
stuff?
good 2 feet wide.
You
It
did
was
you did it in
huge.
there.
I was trying to get my tractor around the barn, the guy came
Push
by,
dozer that they.
Oh, you always do.
his bucket was as wide as my double door on the barn. Huge thing.
It was big.
When they gotta pull out the big guns, that's not a good thing. Especially this time of year.
There's no
Everything's
frost. on the
mushed,
ground.
yeah, no frost, everything's mush,
Yep,
takes out everything.
that's everywhere.
All right, everybody gets ready, we'll get this thing going. Josh? Hi, Steve.
Dave?
Everybody all ready? Dale? All right, this is the April 11th Planning and Zoning meeting. And for roll, I'm George Clausen, Craig Sandon, John Cooney, Peter Marchand, Willie Platt, Troy Lemire, alternate, Charlene Lavoie is alternate, Felix Viner is absent excused. Public comment. Don, what did you have, that you wanted to talk about?
What I have is I found out the site plan of my property on 102 Grapple Drive expired last year. So I was notified by the zoning enforcement by certified letter that I was in violation. So what I wanted to know is, I guess I found out that you can extend a permit, whether it be an existing one or when it expired. But here the plan that was approved 5-6 years ago. This is a site plan, and 102 Grapple Drive, there's a picture of it.
Is that when it was approved in 2016?
I guess it was approved in 16, that's when I bought it from the town in, I believe it was September of 16. So I'm not really sure, that plan says May of 16, correct?
May 16, yeah, May of 16, yes.
I'm not sure, it had to have been approved before I bought it, because I wouldn't have bought the property from the town if I didn't get it approved.
Okay, did you have any stipulations with regards to that? That was the last lot. Did you have any stipulations with conditions that went with the purchase, or was it straight, just a sale?
No, I don't recall, but I mean, that's.
Sometimes with a, industrial park parcel, it would have something to do with, produce it within so much time as far as putting a building on it. Did you have anything like that?
No, I don't know. If there was, I wasn't aware of it, or I forgot about it, I don't know. If it expired last year, I didn't know. I was not, I mean, determination that I had to do it within so many years. So, obviously, the site work needed a lot of site work. So we, have it pretty, it's pretty good now. I mean, it's under where we can get it closer now than it was when we first started.
How much, what's the yardage that you estimated you had?
The engineer first estimated was like 5,000, but I think it's more than 5,000. The state of Connecticut did come in after I bought it and put a, revised the catch basin up in the corner of the property on Route 20. They raised it up like, probably 8 feet.
This is the one up towards,
Yes. Yeah,
Bouchard?
That drains, that was draining through the property for 30 years and causing a serious amount of erosion. So between between me and Steve, who doesn't no longer work for the town, but him and I in the state of Connecticut came to a conclusion that we need to put a catch basin there, which the DOT did. And we put in about 80 feet of 2-inch ABS pipe that goes down the backside now.
the 24-inch pipe that comes down through, is that what you said?
Yes. But that's, that can only be pitched so much because it's gonna defeat the purpose, Keeps it built straight down.
Well, there's a big elevation change there.
Right, there's about 35 feet. From Route 20 to Grappo Drive is about 35 feet.
So you have got a cease and desist, is that what happened, or what's going on?
I'm not really sure if it's a cease and desist. I guess it is, because I'm in violation of the permit expired. I'm supposed to come to, figure out what we do not.
So you had an appointment, just,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, so there was an appointment for him to meet with Michael Stankoff this morning. There was a different violation that Mr. Lapointe had received. He was in to address that and discuss that, and I said, by the way, heads up, you have another one coming for your own property at Taco Drive.
Oh, this is a violation somewhere else?
Yeah, so he's here before you tonight about Grappo Drive, but when there's a violation, the proper board to appeal to is the zoning board of appeals.
Absolutely, yeah.
He hasn't even received the violation yet. It was more of a heads up to start to engage your engineer. Your wetlands permit has definitely expired. Site plan approvals have been extended through Public Act 21-34. So, but what Michael has observed, and our plans were a little bit sketchy in June. When I say sketchy, the testimony was that there would be approximately 3,500 to 5,000 yards of material, of which most of it can be lost right on site. So what he's got going there is something that he should be discussing first with the ZEO, and then you have like a window of time where you can appeal the ZEO's decision to the Zoning Board of Appeals. But discussion by this group is perhaps premature, or there isn't an application in front of you. Even to extend it, you've been in a window. Your site plan doesn't expire because of 21-34, but there has been no new legislation that extends the term of wetland permits. So you have a wetlands matter to discuss with Michael Stankoff, who's also the wetlands agent, and then he's got observations of kind of like what he had approved for was to build a commercial building. What's being observed is more excavation, sand and gravel.
That's not true.
Well,
Well,
it's not gonna,
Don, just
right, so
complete
that's the complete of my report.
See, this, we're all familiar, I think, with this property. This was the last of the industrial park sites, and it was a very difficult site. There's the reason why Donnie got involved, because he's got the equipment, he's in the business, so it's right up his alley. But part of the situation when you get that much material, if we do, all the work that you're talking about is in preparation for that building, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you still intend to build a building?
Yes, I do. I plan on doing something with it. I have to do something with the property. Obviously, I didn't just buy it to move dirt around. I'm not getting paid to do
I
that.
didn't, not even asking, what that's about, but this was to use it for your own purposes, for your own
That was my
equipment
own
and stuff?
purpose, right.
Okay, because I think with our new zoning, that it's not, the contractor yard is not in our industrial park.
Correct,
It's in the gateway.
correct.
However, this property was purchased for that purpose at that time. And so it sounds to me like you've got a couple things you need to do, Don. Is number one, meet with the ZEO and get that resolved with regards to the steps you need to do to get this squared away. You're gonna have to definitely, once the wetlands, because we can't act on it again until wetlands says, okay, they're fine with updating this. And then we can act, and I don't think that this commission, knowing that it's been since 2016, and your intention was to use it for your contractor yard and so forth, that why can't we make an act to go ahead and continue what had been approved back then? Okay? first step is clarify what's going on with the ZEO, whatever the wetlands, whatever issues that you need to get, that we're in harmony with this, because there's not a way just to automatically extend the wetlands permit. And we can't do anything until the wetlands has agreed to what your plan is. And you're doing it again, but because of the delay and because a lot of times, like yourself, developer would come in and ask for extension. Maybe the bottom went out of the market, so, let's get an extension so we get things more stable. Maybe the money market is bad, so you can't get loans. A lot of reasons for why you extend. This property was very difficult. It's gonna be time consuming, and because you were using it, I'm sure, when you did other projects and you had excess material, you're bringing it in.
Oh, exactly, yeah,
Yeah,
extra
so
material
that's-
coming in, it's dumped in the
nothing-
hole. I mean, I got good material that's up against Route 20. I mean, I'm not gonna put down, all that good material and have nothing left, because that's the thing. I mean, there's quite a bit of material, and I don't know if there's enough there, what's left there to even finish the project, but there should be. But my point is, I don't know, because I don't wanna take all the good material and put it up on the bottom, and then all of a sudden, I'm short.
But that's up to you and the development, because
Right.
if this hasn't been in place and put in properly and done in lifts and verified compaction and so forth, you got another problem. So you'd have to verify the integrity of the bearing soil in order to put foundation footings and so forth in. So I don't know how you prepared it.
Where the building is going is on virgin ground, that's why it's up against 45 feet
Okay,
from Route
all right.
20. So that's below the cut.
Okay,
That's not in the fill area.
okay.
So that's where people,
So that's
they need
good.
to understand where the existing topo is and where the new one is.
Okay, I can see that on the, so all I would say is meet with the ZEO, determine what the steps would be that you have to get in order to get this cleared up. Pam says you've got another issue with another project that you're on. That's nothing to do with us. So I would say our focal point is get your wetlands in order, and then this can come back to us, and then so we can update this and
Okay.
get you some kind of, so you can get this thing finished. We don't wanna see that not finished up there. That's why, years ago, we were involved in the first industrial park, and there was a time limit from the Winston Area Industrial Foundation. This was a private group, that if we were involved with a piece of property of theirs, we had a certain amount of time to develop so many thousand square feet. If we didn't, the property would revert back to them. So I didn't know whether the town in this parcel, there was anything to do when the deed was given to you in the deal, not given to you, but, so I don't know. But those are something that you might check just to make sure, so that you're in full compliance, so you don't have a problem later on.
No, I wouldn't have bought it at that. If it wasn't done in 5 years, I would turn it back over to the town. It wouldn't happen. I wouldn't have.
Well, I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying, my history of, knowing a lot of these projects through the town industrial park, sometimes that, their interest is to get it developed, not have it as a project
Dragged out.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of reasons. I mean, there's a lot of things. And this is all, obviously it is where it is. It's not like I just sat there and did nothing.
No, nobody's
No, I get it. I'm saying it's not, I did do a lot of work, I brought the pictures in to show where it is, and those are taken today, so it's not like they were taken,
Okay. I think we all go by there frequently, and so it'd be nice to see that developed. I'd like to see you finish the project and landscape it and be done. It's the entrance point to the industrial park.
I mean, I'm working with the DOT because actually part of Route 20 was falling into that property. The power lines from the industrial park coming across Route 20 went into my property 25 feet beyond my line, and they got dug up by me, okay? So, there was a little bit of a problem because Eversource had to come in, put a new pole in, and put new lines in across Route 20 and down the property line because they had them where they shouldn't have had them. That was done back in the 80s when they developed the park.
Yeah.
Nobody knew nothing, but when they were standing 25 feet in my property, nobody even marked that they were there.
No, that's one of the big problems is as-built, and that's one of the things, I'm on sewer and water too. We're insisting upon as-built because some of these things happen and you depend on somebody who's on the crew to be able to remember,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work.
No, I'm lucky I didn't get killed, but.
No kidding.
I mean, pulled that power out of the ground and it was, a lot of juice going through there. So, needless to needless to say, it's all fixed now.
Good, good.
So, we don't.
Well, and then,
have that
and if
trouble.
you've got an improvement in the drainage coming off of the route that, from the town, the state road,
Yeah, well, Jim Rollins was involved in that too, along with the state of Connecticut and Steve, who's no longer working for the town, but that's when we come to the conclusion that, you know, we need to get that water out of the ground. Because
yeah, it makes sense.
basically it was eroding the whole property.
Yeah. Give it a
It was going underneath the road and into the wetlands, so.
Yeah, well, some of these drainage things happen, and, town work on gravel roads, and all of a sudden it's, you got a wetland developed in somebody's private property because somebody developed a little plan while they were out there. And it was all good intentions, but the proper procedures as far as easements and all of that business, knowing where it is. So it's good you guys took care of that.
Well, I did, I mean, I wanted Mike to come out and meet me in the property, but obviously he didn't want to meet me out in the property. But
Well-
I wanted him to meet me out there.
Well, smoke the peace pipe, meet him, get it done, because he's doing his job the best he can, and that's what we've tried to do, is be consistent and uniform in any enforcement.
This is taking back, this was done years ago, 3, 4 years ago it was done, where that pipe was put in.
Yeah, but anyway, so,
All right, so you want me to take that back now?
yeah, I would, yep. So you get your wetlands put away, and then we can deal with this ourselves. Our hands are tied until
Yeah,
then.
that's it.
Thank you.
All right, did I give you one?
Yes, you did. You want it back?
Sure. I'll give them back to you when I need to give them back.
All right, thank you. Okay, agenda review. Anybody have anything that we need to add or change on the, we don't have a public here, we don't have any other business, Pam, do we?
No.
Okay. And number 6 is just, that's keeping us aware of, we've got a meeting coming up on the 9th of May for the text change submitted to us, new business. So we've got approval of the minutes from the March 28th meeting. We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I was not here. I'm not, I was absent, excused.
Yeah.
I'm showing as present.
That's right, John is not here.
It's true. Okay.
Make a motion to amend the minutes. John Cooney not here.
And it's Greg is second. Any other changes? All in favor? Okay. Any abstentions? Okay. Communications, Pam?
I don't have any, and I'd like to wait for the staff report. We'll do
Okay,
it
we'll,
after we.
we'll pick it up after, if that's fine. Okay. Guess you're on the hot seat here, Josh.
Yes, so. Evening, everybody.
Evening.
I have a few extra documents that I'm going to, actually just sheets, that are amendments, one amendment and one addition to the document that you already received from me. You have an updated summary sheet. That is the second page. That should replace the second page in your packet. Of course, you don't have to do that tonight, but just be wary that there's been one change on that summary sheet. And following the summary sheet, you'll see one additional project that has been added to the capital improvement plan. No problem. Would you like it as well? So I know I was with you back about a month and a half ago, and I mentioned to you that we're trying to do a lot of things, obviously, in the town of Winchester. And one of the larger things that I talked to you about at the last meeting is the infrastructure investment plan. That's an $18.3 million plan to do our best to fix up roads, invest in a new ladder truck, which I know was out again recently for a couple of failures. So obviously needs replacement, $600,000 for sidewalks, and another $1 million for drainage around Highland Lakes. And given all the conversations that you have about drainage, I'm sure you don't need me to remind you how truly important that is. These are capital projects that don't include that $18.3 million, is what's in front of you. So this is the standard annual capital improvement allocations that the town considers each and every year. And what you have in front of you is a new format. I don't believe you've probably ever seen one that looks out 5 years as opposed to just 2 or 3 as you've seen in the past. So it's my hope that with a 5-year plan, obviously, there's always, it's going to be in constant need of work and improvement. to introducing a 5-year plan for the town, and it will help us better plan out and better keep track of some of those long-range projects that we just never seem to quite get our hands around. Help us plan it out a little bit better. So there are 39 total projects. The one additional project that I just handed out to you that wasn't included in your original packet, that's number 39, and that's related to the Communities Challenge Grant. For those of you who, some of you may have already heard, but for those of you who haven't, the town did, as of last week, receive a $1.8 million grant from the state of Connecticut. It's a Communities Challenge Grant, and that means that there is a match component. It's 25%. We are responsible for providing, in partnership with some of our private partners that we're working with, 25% of the total amount being allocated by the state of Connecticut. So we're very fortunate right now that we're working with the owner of 35 Willow Street, Joe Miller, as our private partner, and some of the money from that grant will be used to help remediate a brownfield site that exists on the lower level of that floor. That's a great thing, but we are still responsible for providing a certain proportion of the match. So that's $200,000. Mr. Sedlacki was here, heard earlier today at a special Board of Selectmen meeting that this is a new addition, obviously, and there are going to have to be a couple other moves in the budget. That may mean that some of these capital items may be pushed into later years in order to make up the difference of that $200,000. It's a late addition to the mix, but obviously $200,000 in order for us to get $1.8 million to help fix up sidewalks, pave Bridge Street, and a few other projects, it's well worth the money. But aside from that, there are 38 other projects that are on this list. In total, we're talking about $2.1 million worth of value. We have 87,000 and change of that coming from LoCIP, that's state funding. The remainder of that will come from a mix of town investment and unassigned fund balance from our general fund, with the majority of that coming from the upcoming year's tax levy. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about these projects. I could go through them one by one, but given that there are 39 total projects, I'm not sure I want to sit and bore you with all of the gory detail. But do note that there are short descriptions of each project now on each detail sheet as you go through. I'm hopeful that that helps answer some of your questions, nip them in the bud, so to speak. And we've also tried to identify what are some of the previously allocated funds that we put into these projects. For example, project number 1, the grant list revaluation. We've already put $180,000 towards that project, and I think that by showing that in this breakdown, it helps you understand why we're not asking for money for this project in this current fiscal year, because we have all the money that we need, but going forward, we're going to have another revaluation, so we'll continue to need to request money for that project in particular on a rolling basis. But again, I'll leave it at that. Are there specific questions about specific projects that I can help answer for you?
I look at the Public Works building, talking about a roof replacement. To me, I think the place is a frickin' disaster down there. And I look at all the equipment that you've accumulated, or the town has accumulated in the last number of years since our past finance director is at a different managed facility. So we didn't have any money spent on a lot of the facilities. And we've got some, in the past, we've had some pretty antique equipment out there. And I think the equipment today that's visible in the just the appearance of your Public Works crew, the water and sewer people, I think there's a pride now in working for the community. But when you have all this equipment and you got a piece of a junk for a building, I'm wondering why are you 4 years out trying to think about, after putting $60,000 into a roof, that you want to wait that long to not do something to be able to better maintain and keep as a longer life span for all this equipment? Why is it so far out?
It's a good question, and it's not an easy decision to try and position this, but here's the rationale. So right now it's raining inside. That's not good for the employees, it's not good for the equipment, it's not good for anybody involved. It's not good for the structure. So we need to fix the roof. That's the obvious answer. We need to fix the roof. I wish that we were in a position right now where we could simply do the whole building. But as you can see, our off-the-cuff estimate right now down the road is about $4 million. that would have required a level of forethought probably 2 or 3 years ago that would have started us on a path to having engineer drawings and so forth of the building and really moving and architectural the drawings to get that project moving. And we're at a point right now where we need to bond for the rooms. If we push that off further, we risk having even higher interest rates that are already going up from what they were last year. And we risk just having greater failures in our road systems around town. I think now is the time to strike that iron. And that means that over the next 5 years, we probably won't have the administrative capacity to focus on getting the engineering work and a whole construction project done for this building. So what my hope is that over the next few years, we'll invest money into engineered drawings and into architectural review for this site. So that way, when we're done with our 5-year road plan, part of the next 5-year plan will include borrowing money for that building, and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, believe me, I've lived here for 50 years, and the neglect is stunning. But I look at you have firehouses, you're investing a lot of money in equipment. I just had the opportunity, part of a task that I was assigned, to look at a brand-new firehouse in Roxbury, just outside Boston. And what stuck in my mind is a couple previous chiefs before, when I think I was a selectman, we talked about the inadequacies of the Elm Street. So you got equipment that's too big for the building, somehow it fits in there. My concern is not just putting a roof on a building, but to make sure you've got the environmental situation under controls, so we don't jeopardize the health of our volunteers and our, people that are working in the facilities. So the roads definitely, I understand, all of this I understand, but I think we've got to put a higher priority before we have some serious medical problems that'll come back to haunt us for long term. And when we're going to spend all this money on equipment, we ought to make sure we got an appropriate facility to house them and take care of them, and the personnel to be able to be healthy and around it. So just another contribution. This is after the fact. You guys have spent an awful lot of time putting this together. I give you a lot of credit because you've done a lot of explanation here. But
I appreciate your feedback. The one other thing I'll share is I view this as a worst-case scenario. I don't think anybody thought that we were realistic. I certainly didn't, and I'm one of the authors on the grant. I didn't think we were going to get a $1.8 million grant from the state for sidewalks and a road and a few other, handful of other projects. We did. I view this as the worst-case scenario. If we get to fiscal year 2027 and we still don't have some other option for us, some other lever to pull to make this happen, that's when I think we could realistically, with our financial condition, borrow money for this project. But in the meantime, we're gonna go after every dollar, we're gonna go after every cent that's available to us from the federal and state government, and private money too, if we can find those sources. And we'll put all of those resources towards these projects, especially the larger capital ones.
I'm not trying to hog the time here, folks. Just a couple of questions. One of the things, just a couple more questions that came up. The projection for usable lifespan of the rolling stock. Troy he's handling the Norfolk situation. And we've got our group of communities that do communicate, I'm sure. How do you come up with a projection for a community like us with what we've got a little over 80 miles of road and the amount of equipment we need to maintain those roads in the winter and so forth and whatever else goes on? How do you come up with an estimate for usable life to project it out? So when are these realistic, Troy? Did you have a chance to look at those?
I mean, based on prior calculations, it was on a 10-year plan. Ever since I've been doing this for 30-something years, ever since the emission stuff came in, I have 2 trucks that are 2 years old and 3 years old that are costing me a lot of money as we speak. So this emission thing has put a damper on the longevity of the equipment. There's a point where you have to say, how much money you're gonna put into this truck compared to how much you're gonna get out of it. Obviously, the salt does a lot of damage. It depends on what route this truck would be on, if it's a hard route or an easy route. So they're not getting what they used to, George. And some of the towns are steering into the older trucks and putting the money into them that don't have the DEF systems on them. Because the DEF systems, first of all, if you could get the parts, and they're corroding and they're, 3 years, you got issues. And I just spent $20,000 on one truck just for the whole DEF system, so.
We're just gonna get worse in
It's
2
gonna
years.
get worse.
In 2 years, they're changing the emissions regulations again on all the
Right.
heavy diesels, and it's gonna get even worse then.
So they're,
2024.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, before the DEF, it was a 10-year plan, and it's been that way since I started this.
So would you say the estimates that Jim has put together for lifespan are?
I mean, he's using a 10-year plan, and which, I mean, that's what everybody does. But personally, I don't think that's gonna fly anymore.
Yeah, and that comes from American Public Works Association. I mean, the DOT uses that, everybody across the nation
Right.
uses that 10-year plan.
So it's not, because I've heard too, sometimes you get a good price on a truck, but it's too small for the job, and that'll kill the truck a lot faster too.
Absolutely.
So how does a public works director and
What I'm trying to do right now, I've been trying to talk to my first selectman about leasing. There's a system where you can lease the trucks, and after a certain point, you could buy them out or get brand new trucks. And the way my budget works, because I'm a small town, by the time I do my repairs, I just bought a brand new truck.
Sure.
So, to me, it makes no sense. I would rather know that money is, so I would have a 10-year plan. So when my trucks are ready to be swapped out, I'm paying that money anyway, so it doesn't matter, but at least I'm getting a brand new truck and I don't have to worry about it. That's what I was looking into.
I just, reading the numbers, I just trying to make it register here too.
It's very hard. I mean, there's a lot of factors that are different today than they were before, so.
Okay, that's good insight.
I mean, Winston, the road, just the road conditions, you could be breaking springs and all kinds of stuff on the truck just because the road's in bad shape.
Sure.
If the road's in good shape, it's easier on the truck, so, I mean, I have that problem myself, so.
Yeah, well, I think that every community in the state probably is dealing with that kind of stuff. Okay. Who else, questions of Josh on the materials?
I had one about what's wrong with the ladder truck? What's been happening with that?
Peter might actually be able to answer this better than I can.
Well,
My understanding is it's the hydraulics.
Basically, anything aerial device, after 10 years, your maintenance costs just compound every year after that. Right now, it's 21 years old, 22 years old, and chronic electrical problems. It's been out of service. It went out this last week. It may be out a couple of weeks. It could be a month or more. But trying to diagnose it, it's at the dealer, and they've replaced relays, they've replaced wiring harnesses, and it comes back, it works good for a few months, and starts again.
Torrington had the same problem with theirs for a
Yep.
while.
And it's just, they're pouring good money after bad into it. It's a losing battle. Bottom line.
Is it feasible to not have a ladder truck in town?
In this
You
town?
could get-
Absolutely not.
You could get Torrington here in 15 minutes.
Absolutely not. And what do you tell a person that died on Main Street in that 15 minutes you're waiting for a ladder truck to rescue them?
I just think that's a lot of money to,
There's a whole lot of liability.
how
on
many,
the
how
town.
many miles are on that truck?
I couldn't tell you, I don't know. But,
I mean, for what, I mean, I lived here, I'm 55
it
years
does,
old,
it
so.
does get a lot, I mean, wintertime chimney fires gets used. I've had to call them to Winchester for chimney fires, if you can get them into the driveway. Just because some of these houses are so huge, you just can't carry a ladder big enough to get to them.
I'm not beating up the fire
No,
department.
no,
by the
no,
way.
no.
I was a
I
member
mean,
for
it's-
10 years too.
I'm
so
a taxpayer here for 50-plus years.
It's just, that's a lot of money for a truck, that's why.
It's a whole lot of money, but for public safety, there's, you know, it was used out here in the river for a river rescue last winter. Somebody in the river. Pull somebody out of the river. They use it to lift them up. It's used for a lot more things than just structure fire.
Then I would like to see, if we are gonna purchase it, that it would be a pumper also. Why are we getting just a ladder that it's
Well,
not
then you're looking at another large expense on top of it. And another maintenance item that every year that pump has to be tested and certified. Okay, and you may end up with a longer chassis, and I know the problem they've got right now is trying to design a truck to fit in that structure. Because when they got the existing truck, they had to cut out a big notch in the back to make it long enough to get that truck in there. And there's not many manufacturers that make one low enough as far as height for the doors and lengthwise to get in there now. It's gonna be a challenge for them to get in there. I mean, the other problem you've got is if you have a structure fire, a large one, one of the old mill buildings or downtown, yes, you can call Torrington, but you're gonna need more than one ladder, be pouring water on.
And
Your next
hopefully they're not
closest-
busy.
Your next closest one is Canton or Canada, okay? And you're a half hour plus away there for ladder trucks. And if Torrington's has to be down, and I mean, Torrington's had many issues with theirs over the years where they've replaced them and bought demo units and things.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I worked in the garage, they worked on that
Yeah,
thing forever.
yep, exactly. A friend of mine is a mechanic that's for the city down there, so I hear about it all the
So
time.
I guess you gotta look at it as if we had a paid fire department,
So,
that would cost us a lot more than just buying a ladder truck, so.
yes, one year salary would cost you
Take care
more
of
than a
one
ladder
ladder
truck for
truck.
1 year
Right.
for paid.
Right.
But, you know, and the other thing with Torrington, I mean, they're taking theirs out every single day and running up and down the road. It's, you know, kinda gets beat, especially in the winter. So, with this one here, it goes out only when it needs it, plus it's part of the mutual aid, packs that they have with other towns, with Norfolk, with New Hartford, you know, where it goes to assist them. They come in to assist us when needed, so. Yeah, it's a lot of money, it's, no matter how you look at it, but it's only going up 5 to 10% a year now, so.
But, you know, that just, the things you just brought out in the discussion, this is going into the, on TV, and so our community can see it. This kind of an explanation assists Josh and the selectmen as far as an understanding of, because you look at some of these numbers and you go, wow.
Yeah.
And unless you're affected yourself, all of a sudden, you know, when that happens, all this stuff makes a lot of sense, but, you
Yeah,
know,
and I mean,
we've been fortunate here in our community, there's not a lot of these big problems happening, and I think part of it is because of the strength of our volunteer
I mean, if you,
departments.
if you talk like some of the tree companies that you get that work for you, ask them how long they keep an aerial bucket truck. If they keep it 5 years, it's amazing.
Right.
Just because for them, the cost of inspections, maintenance, after 5 years is just outrageous. I mean, I had the problem with the state, with stuff with under-bridge inspection units, with aerial bucket trucks. It just, it tried to keep them 10 years, and it just, the price of maintenance exceeded the cost of the equipment. What you got done.
Unfortunately, that's the way it's.
And yeah, I mean, you're running into it, so, and that's what happens.
Well, thank you, Peter, for the explanation. I bet you didn't know you were presenting tonight.
I usually have something to say.
Okay, Will, you have some?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Craig? John, you had something you were.
Yeah, just one quick question, and tremendous amount of work you're doing here, and I appreciate it. Thank you. My question is related to computer replacement program.
Yes.
You have in here that it supports and upgrades other essential system and/or server-related costs to maintain a working network. Does that 5-year projection include software and licensing?
It does not include all of our software and licensing. So our software and licensing, that's generally in the operating budget. And we do have some increased costs, just so you all know as you go to the polls this year. We have some increased costs when it comes to software and licensing. On one hand, we have new software that's associated with the state mandate to have body cameras for our police officers. And on the other hand, we're also trying to be more customer friendly when it comes to things like planning and zoning and making sure that we have online permitting. So going forward, we do have some increased costs there. This does not cover those costs, and I apologize, I suppose our description should have been a little bit more precise here, that it's not those ongoing software costs that are part of that general operating budget, but true capital upgrades. So any hardware, I know that we're gonna need the switches on our server, and then of course the actual hardware of the computers, monitors, and so forth. You'd be amazed how quickly they go, and how many we have to have in town. Even though we have so many people out on trucks and so forth in some departments and in police cars, and they all gotta come back, they've gotta have a computer in their car, they've gotta have a computer at their desk and so forth. It's a lot, but I think that making sure that we're giving money routinely and we're tending to the issues as they crop up instead of trying to have one large allocation all in one year when we start seeing widespread failures is the way to go.
No, I assumed that when I saw the cost, and that's why I asked, but I don't like to assume anything, so I asked. That was all I had. Thank you.
Charlene?
Long overdue,
Yeah,
all of it.
nice, I think a good thorough job in that,
Yeah, I just had a question on the Parks and Recs, the tractor replacement. Any reason why they're going with that much larger tractor than they presently have?
I will have to get back to you.
No, I just,
That is the one,
I mean, I know there's a need for it, but I didn't know if they had additional things they were gonna be able to use it for instead of subcontracting
Yeah.
someone else to do it.
I can send the answer to that a long call with you by email,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But
don't
no,
understand just without.
all the years I've sat here, I'd say this is one of the best,
yeah, I agree.
best ones, and we've had it ahead of time so we can look at it and very good explanation, so.
Yeah, and the projection here, for a planning purpose, the continuity is, I mean, that's what all of us sitting here at this commission, we're trying to make the stability of, number one here, which is good, thanks to the Board of Selectmen for keeping a good group together on this. But, you know, consistency in enforcement, keep our regulations as clear and understandable as we can get. When we have a problem, we're gonna address it. And so I think that with the work you're doing and the work of the Board of Selectmen, I think that's, we're on the right track. So, good. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We don't do anything formally with this.
Yeah,
Yeah, we usually do a motion.
Just
Yep, I
but it's advisory, it's not, right,
positive referral,
yeah, like an 824.
yeah. Yeah, pursuant to,
Got it written up?
1106D of the town charter.
thank you.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the town manager's proposed capital improvement budget for section 1106D of the town charter.
I'll second that.
any further discussion? 5 members will vote on that, all in favor? Thank you, okay,
Thank you all.
Thanks, Josh.
thanks, Josh.
Feeling better, are you?
A little bit,
Excellent, good.
actually a lot of it.
Okay, Pam, thank you very much for all the work you put into this next
Excellent.
part of this, which is the cannabis. We did spend a lot of time previously on the retail sales part of it. But now we're talking about the production and distribution and so forth. So thank you for doing the research. It's amazing with the list of towns that have put up a roadblock. You know, and I hate to see people just push the can down the road, you know, it's nice to see, not trying to pat our commission on the back, but I think that it's important. Once the Board of Selectmen gave us their review, and it took about a month to hash it out and go back, and I think that was very helpful. So, we've got a draft. Number one, the package that Pam put together, which it's amazing, all the moratoriums or be it prohibition, and even some of the ones that are approved, when I looked them up, it was like looking through closed door, open it up and try to find something. Maybe that was intentional, but one of
You
them.
know what I think that's about? Font, formatting.
Oh,
You know, we've said that before, that zoning regs, you know, and when you send them out, they really make the formatting particularly difficult, so that when you go to update it, you gotta call them again. Because that's, you know, and it's a lesson to be learned when we're looking for them.
oh, yeah.
You
Well,
gotta-
that's what we did with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
try to come back
Right,
and,
and just one comment on this Excel file that I put together. It doesn't include all, and it's dated December 10th, but it's the most recent data that the state has. I think that so towns have either, you know, done a moratorium, they've approved the use, or they've flat out prohibited. And then I think I didn't count this, but I would almost estimate it at half the towns haven't taken a position one way
They've
or
done
another
nothing,
yet.
no.
Yeah,
yeah.
so, you know, and that's as of December 10th. I mean, we're already 5 months past that, but.
Okay, you had done some work on the glossary of terms and so forth, and there was, I looked at the Enfield.
Enfield?
Yeah, I looked at Enfield. They had a definitions, and they included hybrid retailer, which I think was a cultivator and retailer, or no, hybrid, that was the medical and retail. That was the hybrid. So-
And what that might be, a hybrid retailer, that because I wondered myself too, that's whether you have a combination of not only brick and mortar, but also online presence.
Oh,
So, I mean, they must be, I'm not sure if these things can be delivered at some point, you know, with like Uber
They are doing that
Right?
in Massachusetts.
delivering.
Well, that's one of the things the state approved in their state statutes was a delivery. That was one of the things.
That because they understood that, you know, that the delivery service of so many products have
Yep.
grown as you know, with COVID,
yeah.
so if you're gonna allow that, that's why it has that extra, hybrid retailer, is for that.
Okay. So this, under the Enfield, it says, a person or entity that is licensed to purchase marijuana and sell recreational marijuana and medical marijuana products. So that's Enfield's definition. That's March 18th. Just to consider. And then the delivery service, because you've covered some of this in your draft, 2-pin, about that delivery. Anyways, this is from Enfield. A person or entity that is licensed to deliver cannabis from A, micro cultivator, retailers and hybrid retailers to consumers and research program subjects, and B, hybrid retailers and dispensary facilities to qualified patients, caregivers, right, and research program subjects as defined in section 21A-408 CGS, or to hospices or other inpatient care facilities licensed by the Department of Public Health pursuant to Chapter 368V CGS that have a protocol for the handling and distribution of marijuana that has been approved by the department or a combination thereof. So it's pretty lengthy, but we might want to throw that in there. It seems pretty complete. The other thing that struck me in the Meriden one was the issue of visibility for advertisements and so forth.
Newington had it too in there, too, about
Newington did
signs
too.
and exterior
Yeah.
displays.
Yeah.
I think that's the way it is in Massachusetts.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they don't have window displays and,
Yeah, so, but I don't think we didn't put that in our draft, did we, about that, no?
What was that?
is that governed by state law? Display, you know, visibility, like window displays and so forth, no? Yeah.
Where did you find, window displays, what town?
Meriden.
Meredith.
Like Newington,
Meriden,
Yeah.
yeah.
Newington had exterior signage shall be restricted to a single sign no larger than 16 by 18.
But that's,
All
in Winston, that's regulated by our sign stuff,
Sign
right?
Right.
But this is
Sizes.
about whether you can,
Content.
yeah, put products
Exactly.
On page
on
two.
display in the window.
Right here. This is Bellevue.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. I just went through it, and I can't find it again.
Are you looking for Meredith?
Yeah, it's number 2 on that, on page 2. Retail and hybrid retail establishments may not display products for consumption in store windows or otherwise be visible from the public right away. Window advertising signage is prohibited. That's the Meredith.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I had.
less than 2,000 feet.
Yeah, I think that, we went through distances already, and I don't think we've got any
No, we're 200.
change on that, yeah. And we're talking door to door, not property line to property line.
Yes.
So what do you think on that, adding those 2 or a few other things there?
Definitions, yeah.
We got the definitions, the hybrid retailer,
Yes.
delivery services, and then we've got the visibility.
I think the visibility and, you know, definitely, but we may want to restrict the sign, even though we have it in our sign things. I mean, like Newington, in their back page, off, exterior signage restricted to a single sign no larger than 16 by 18. I mean, that's probably a lot less than what our sign regulations would allow. You know,
Yeah.
do we want to restrict that to keep the signage down? And all it can contain is the legal name of the entity and the street address of the facility. And then they also all require off-street parking
You
requirements.
might be covering that too, Peter, because you're saying that your window advertising signage is prohibited.
Well, that's in, you're looking at
Yeah, that's
Meriden.
Meriden.
Yeah, I'm looking at Newington's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you
no,
might, if you took
but
one
that's
or
just
the other, you might
window
cover
signage,
that.
but this is saying exterior signage, period.
Yeah.
Because they could have a sign out by the road or anywhere else, or on the roof of the building, who knows where. Because it was my thought.
But would that be allowed by our regular signage regulations?
Oh, our regular signage is 2 square feet per linear foot of building.
But,
On the front side, yeah.
Or, you know, but if you get a corner building, you can
Yeah,
allocate it,
but
but
if you
it's,
get something like
it's a
Capital
lot.
Products Building, you got a lot of frontage. You
Yeah,
got
right.
10 Bridge
Huge.
Street, there's huge frontage.
Good point.
You know, do we want to limit that for this? And the other thing is off-street parking requirements.
Okay, I don't know what their we can refer to our off-street parking requirements
Okay.
for retail.
Yeah.
So,
Which we may want to
yeah,
put that in there, so.
all right. So what's the consensus? I think our retail was pretty good.
I just do, I mean, everything, we worked on that for months and months.
Yeah, so I don't want to go back and forth, but the signage is appropriate for both. The production and, so, I mean, Pam, I'd say what you've got here as our page 70 and 71. And then we should add a couple of other things to the definitions.
so do you think that, what we have currently for marijuana should stay, and then add this as something different?
Because the marijuana is a dispensary, medical dispensary, right? So if you're saying, that, as opposed to trying to combine them,
Right.
they retail
That's
cannabis.
exactly right. Yeah, that retail
Retail
is a little bit
cannabis.
more restrictive than medical.
Medical, yes.
I think probably the state regulations
Yeah.
are much more restrictive to the medical too, don't you think? I mean, I don't know.
It
just
was, I
Seemed
mean,
like that's
you
what
know,
it was, yeah.
but,
Why not simplify it and put it as a separate, so it's retail And then it's clear, so nobody's gonna misinterpret, because the clearer it is, the better it is.
Well, at
to-
least if we have it in our regulation
Yeah,
definition, and everything's right there.
yeah.
So currently, the medical marijuana is titled just marijuana
Well, we should
with the
retitle
understanding
it
of
then.
medical. So title it medical, and then the cannabis
Cannabis
establishment, as
establishment
the way it's drafted.
Covers everything
With
else.
depths, yeah, like it's a little bit more. I have notes from, I mean, if you'll let me take one more stab at it, of the things that you talked about, did you want to adopt this, the visibility portion? Do you wanna add that about,
I think
that
it's a
I
good
think so,
language
the Enfield one,
Yeah,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
and, no, from Meredith, right?
Meredith,
Yeah,
Meredith,
Meredith.
yeah.
Yeah.
Visibility, okay.
Page 2, section 2.
Yep, at that, and then, what are you thinking with, I heard, Newington sign restriction,
Sign, limited to the one sign,
sign and exterior display requirements.
one sign with the name and the address of the facility only.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay,
So,
This is,
are
this
we
is
gonna
a,
make it a 16 by 18 sign? That's kinda small, 16 inches by 18 inches. You're gonna have people driving around that are gonna get lost. 16 inches,
yeah, I mean, right now, these
Right.
are
Yeah.
2x2s.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah,
that's an
pretty
awful small
small.
sign.
do you want 24 inch by 24 inch?
So what's the restriction on general business signage?
It's based on the.
Based on the
Frontage.
frontage of the
Frontage of the
building.
Frontage?
Yeah. But, I mean, just look at the ceiling tile.
Can I ask a question, not being as familiar as you all are? Can you make a regulation that treats one type of establishment different than others?
You can't for this particular kind of, because it's that specific with regards to the status.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
that
don't-
is that in the state enabling legislation that you can do that?
I'd have to defer
Yeah,
to
yeah.
you.
Okay.
on
And
that.
Attorney Brands has always, said that you have a lot of discretion when it comes to special permits. And, you know.
Well, special permits, but
Yes, but
That's
you
what
don't
this would
have
be.
to, and it's better to be in your regulation, like.
Define
if
what you're
you-
looking for.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
otherwise it would be discriminatory if someone comes before you and then you restrict the signage.
No,
If it's put it in there, it's right there up front for everyone to see.
Yeah, and I'm frankly, as an applicant, I'd like to have the regulations be as clear as can be, because if you comply with it, you know, what's the negotiation then? And I have been before boards where it depends on who's sitting on the commission and who the applicant is, and, it ain't the fair way to do things. I think we should be, a place to do business and be predictable, in my mind, that's my opinion. And,
I don't see why we can't keep it like we do with other retail stuff, because we're gonna control the content. There's not gonna be a marijuana leaf or.
But the content is tough, really, because you can't, it's the size. You know, design review board has a little bit more, you know, only in the sense that, you know, the applicants feel a little bit of, stress, pressure, you know, like, so when the design review board is saying, well, can you add some trim here, and can you add maybe, you know, more color? It's all a recommendation, but you know, from Dunkin' Donuts in New Hartford, when they asked for, you know, no orange, no pink, you know, to really kind of take the branding out so it's not screaming, an applicant is more likely to agree to it because,
They want it to pass.
they want it to pass, and they want a positive referral from yet another commission when they get before you. But content-wise, you know, and a lot of times, you know, that'll be part of the testimony that, you know, when they're coming in seeking your approval, they'll point out that there's no, you know, leaf or anything, you know, but you wouldn't be able to deny it based on the content.
Oh, I thought we could do that. That's why, I thought we were talking about that before, that.
yeah, I thought Peter was just saying,
Size.
name and address.
Size.
But I
You
thought you
Oh,
were
can,
size.
if it's in the reg.
Content too.
If
I
it's,
thought- I thought you
if
said
it's
name
in
and
the
address.
reg,
The
if
one
it's in the
from-
reg, but you wouldn't, you know, you would, because that's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
because the
and
one
that's
from
prob-
Meriden actually said all they could have was the name of the
Name and
business
address.
and the street address.
Yes.
Nothing else on it.
Yeah, we could do that, right?
I agree with that,
I agree.
For
No.
anything.
but the size, I
Size is,
mean,
this is,
Right.
Leave the
The
size
size
like
is too
normal.
small, I agree,
And
the
I
size
think
is
that
too
your
small.
concern, you know, it's funny, I think that initially there's apprehension among a community to add this as, you know, a permitted use. I don't think they're gonna have any trouble finding it.
no, no.
As it becomes, you know, what's happened to Massachusetts, as there's more of them and the novelty dies down.
I'll be lined
And
up.
when you get complaints about the restriction, you know, felt through the size, you know, you can change it. If that were to become a problem, you know, it's just like, you're gonna, it'll probably loosen. You'll probably be more inclined to loosen. You know, it's just like, traffic is the big concern in the beginning when they first come, and then traffic comes, because there's one in every town.
Well, you know, size-wise, I mean, a 2x4 is only 8 square feet. It's not very large.
Pretty small, right, as you're driving by. But
So, I mean, and I would suggest that you include, sign to, to follow sign regulation, but to be no greater than, because, you know, you don't wanna give more than what is already,
Right,
Wow, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no greater than
No
2
greater
by 4
than
feet or
2
something like
although,
that.
you know,
Yeah,
your
whatever.
sign regulations are very generous in terms of size.
Unless you're the applicant, then
Right.
not very.
Right, yeah.
Sign regulations are tough, because once you put them in, there certainly isn't a provable hardship unless you're along the interstate and you need something at height. But in a town like ours, the other thing that, I was in Salzburg, Austria, years and years ago, and you got these beautiful little cobblestone streets, and you're walking along, and there's no way a flat sign on the side of in the front of the buildings that you're gonna see it. You got something that's gotta come out perpendicular. And we finally are talking about that here, and, but, I mean, it's something, you go along it, of course, I think, what's our speed limit on Main Street, 50?
80. Really? I know.
Depends on whether you're in the outside lane or inside lane. But anyways, I don't think that's, a 2x4, I mean, you look at the size,
Yeah,
I don't think that's crazy, so, 8,
Okay.
I mean, that's
not to
2
exceed
squares.
8
If
square
you-
I
feet.
like
Not
her
to exceed
point
8
about
square
Yeah.
feet.
using the sign regulation, but not to exceed.
Exceed 8 square
Okay.
feet.
Yeah.
Language.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
George, I
And
gotta,
also,
I
how
gotta
about-
leave. There's a problem in my house, so.
Okay.
Alright?
Oh, okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
Oh,
Sorry.
Thanks, George.
And also to include the limitation that it's just to contain the name and the address.
Yeah, as
Name
this
and
one.
address
Yeah,
Yeah.
only,
Yeah,
name and street address.
yeah.
this isn't something that's gonna be somebody just driving along, it's, oh geez, let's stop and get a burger.
Yeah, right.
Well, it might be.
Because, I don't know if you've been up to Great Barrington lately, but at the intersection of Route 23, where 23 goes over to Egremont, that big huge stone building up on the hill, it used to be a Christian Science Church. It's now a marijuana dispensary. And there's a banner that's gotta be 2 to 3 feet high by 12 to 16 feet long, showing up
really?
between the trees. Up there, I just saw it Sunday.
Where is this?
Great Barrington, right at the intersection with Route 23 on Route 7.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Up on the hill was a
Uh-huh.
Christian Sciences
Uh-huh.
church.
How about the billboards?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the billboards or something,
Yeah.
huh?
I had to go to Boston the other day, and
Yeah,
they've
they're
got
huge.
these monstrous billboards out.
Exactly, so,
Anyways, all right, let's not get too bogged down. So are all the things we talked about, those that we want to add, so Pam could just do another, a final
I
draft?
think so, I mean, there's great so far what we've
Yeah,
got.
good work.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. Very organized, it makes a difference to see.
So I think
Well, you gotta
One
have
more.
something to work from.
Yeah.
one more
Otherwise,
stab with it, you know, I think we can
Yeah.
finally look at doing a public hearing.
Yeah, and the way Pam defined it, to comply with what the Board of Selectmen has recommended to
Yeah,
us,
yep,
I don't have a problem with that.
All right, so we'll take one more stab at it at the,
Yeah, so you're gonna relabel the. the-
yep, and then I'll have dates for you, because if it looks good, well, we'll wanna send, should I send it off for legal review ahead of your next meeting?
I don't know, what do you think, guys? Hers?
I don't see
Well,
us
I
changing
don't know,
it.
if the public comes in with relevant comments that we may want to have pass add to and then pass legal
Also,
analysis.
wait for a public hearing and then,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
okay. all right.
and then have it
Yeah, I mean,
all,
we're not trying to just spend money for the town either.
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Probably be better to
Might
wait.
as well get it as close to the final thing and then you get it reviewed once and then, good suggestion. Okay, that's good with everybody?
Yep.
Something that we've got to think about too, keep that in mind as we move forward, is the governor has extended the outside dining thing. And so I don't know, we probably will have to check with, Torrington Area Health. I think they have to approve the dining area inside, outside, without the executive order. So I think I'll give them a call and then I'll see how they react to this, because typically we get a request, a site plan showing the facility and any of the outside dining, anything that's gonna be used for their establishment, parking, dining, and then that would go to their licensing, I imagine, with Torrington Area Health to get their ability to operate a restaurant, I would think. And I know, automotive, it has to go through ZBA in our town to get a site suitability, but it's gotta have an A2 survey. It shows a lot of detail that they have specifically in the dealer and repairs section. And they don't, if they expand it or even change owners and all that all thing, it has to be gone through again. You have to get approval again. So I'm not quite clear on how the process is with restaurants. And, so let me do a little homework on that, but we should be thinking in terms of it so that we've got people who have spent money
Yeah.
preparing to do this and investing in our community to serve the public. Let's see if we can make sure they can continue to do it.
So you mean, you're talking about maybe proposing a regulation regarding outdoor
I
dining?
gotta see what they require.
Or if it's already covered
Yeah,
by
if
Torrington
they're,
area?
yeah,
Got
if
it.
they've got the bricks and mortar part of it is their primary concern, because it's the kitchen and the cleanliness and so forth. So let me get I'll do a little homework on that, and then I'll send it to Pam, and she can make a distribution, so. Not sure where that's going, but we wanna make sure that's,
Have them covered.
yeah, I mean, honest investments, that we wanna make sure it's not like limited to what the governor just said, because that can't continue to go on forever. Okay, Pam, did you have something that,
Yeah, I'll just give you an update on, as you can see, there is an increase in zoning enforcement. Sand and gravel operations, most recently, home farming. A lot of people, really, there was an uptick, and I think it was people working remotely, that they had time to have chickens. And the regulations are pretty generous in that you allow that even in the downtown area on very small lots, but you still have to meet the regs, you still have to come up with a zoning permit, and many did not. So we're kind of playing catch-up now, where their neighbors have had enough. They still may be living with their chickens, they won't be living with roosters, but they might still be living with chickens. If it meets the regs, you can have,
That's what you
I
think.
know, it's like Parks and Rec. But,
There's a lot of roosters out there, believe me.
right. So, as far as 35 Willow Street goes, Joe Miller's building, we have gotten a permit for, it was either the roof or siding. I think it was the roof, but nothing else yet. They'll probably be coming with you. That was a simple, building permit for a roof. Then 58 Main Street, which is the corner building, it was Neil Hunt's building.
Yes.
That has transferred hands, and Liv, which is at the corner here in the Winchester Hotel, she's branching out and going to Live at Home. L-I-V-E, at home, and it's gonna be a home furnishings,
Separate store
gifts,
from what
yes,
she has
but
there.
same, proprietor.
over in Hunt's building?
Yes, so she's still gonna have both,
Oh, good,
spots,
Cool.
yeah.
excellent, good. And I was going through some of the old think we all kind of probably accumulate a lot of records from this commission. Back in last fall, we were talking about the earth excavation, and we got, Ken has passed away, but his operation is still ongoing, and that's not the small industrial park that we had approved. It's equipment storage and mining operation and so forth. Where's that? Because when Ken was still alive, they were saying they were gonna
And-
make an
Yep,
application.
and the fiduciaries of the estate have retained Leonard Engineering. Rob Calabella has closed as Laurel Engineering and is now working for Leonard. Rob has been to town several times, and from what Rob has relayed, they intend to build out that commercial subdivision, the new operator of KJ Fracasso is planning to go forward with some development. They're working on plans. They understand that they'd have to return here because
Okay.
5 years has lapsed. Although now with, they really don't have to return. I mean, 19 years is a long time. And that was part of that legislation that was passed last year.
But it's certainly not being used in the direction that it was approved for.
Well, and that's,
Well, and they changed owners, because originally it was.
that's the
Belinsky.
wrinkle.
That was
Yeah,
Belinsky
the
guy.
19 years doesn't extend to something that may have been cited for a violation, something in conflict with what was approved. Because, I mean, that's an awful long time.
Well, it's not our, I know, my opinion is only one on this commission, but it's not to throw a roadblock in front of somebody, but when we went through what we went through for the Kentucky Fried Chicken, one little operation, and you've got multiple acres over there that, really isn't complying with what we have granted approval
No,
for.
and because they're under violation, they're gonna return.
Okay.
Once there's a violation order issued, they gotta come back. If there's a
Well, it's-
deviation from what was approved,
Well, even if they want to get financing for further development,
Yeah.
I don't know how they would without having that glitch
Yeah.
cleared up. But that's good. It's good to see activity, and I will, in fact, because
Has Canavo ever come in with plans for their building across from DMV or not?
he's also got, surveying underway,
Okay.
either the surveying or the engineering. I think it was the surveying, they were waiting for the
Yeah,
snow mill.
okay. I
Tim
knew
Wiley.
They took
is
the
working
material
on
out and built a wall and the road up in there.
Oh, you're talking about across the street where
Yeah.
he was building that
Mark's
commercial
across the street
building?
next to Crystal Peak.
No, because he's got a special built permit for a commercial building, like it wasn't.
yeah, that was approved.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know, I just hadn't seen any more since they took the material out.
Okay. Anything else, Pam? It's good to see a lot of life in the community. Right?
Busy activity.
All right, motion to adjourn then.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, you want to sit somewhere?
Yeah, we want to stay for another hour.
I can't make it.
Somebody from up there?
On Winchester Road. Across the corner, nope. By the post office. Our driveway to the-
Yeah.
Peter, what's the thing going on Route 8 there? Is there tunneling under the northbound lane?
I don't know what they're doing now, but there's a huge culvert there.